Here we are with the Grande Juan build. It's on the road. I apologize. The build continued and I got very busy. We had a lot more Jeeps come in and we're developing a new shop, so the guys kind of ran away with it and finished the Jeep, and I did not finish the install videos. We'll follow up with another build, continuing from where we left off with Grande Juan. So it's all done. Turned out to be a really nice Jeep, drives excellent. There's a tremendous difference between the way it drives now and the way it did with a supercharger. Let's go for a short ride. LS3 sounds good. Kind of like a muscle car, but still very docile. And it drives very docile. When you hit remote start, it locks the doors. Yes, we got Mo back. Put our key in. It's a pretty heavy Jeep. 22-inch tires. Or 22-inch wheels. LS3 is as docile as you can get, just putting around. Notice how ours just stay really low. Barely hear the engine cruising. Throttle it up a little. LS motors are really like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They have a mild side, sit there and idle at 500, but then they come alive too. The LS3 is not a VVT motor like the L99. They traditionally run higher compression on the non-VVT motors. Let me give you a short demonstration of cruise control and tap shift. You all probably know that we support the cruise right through the dash now, and when this shifter is placed into second, that's our manual mode. Alright, so let's turn our cruise on. We're now on cruise control. Now I'm going to bring us back into second. We've activated tap shift mode. Let's bump it down. 1, 2, 3. Notice that our miles per hour is staying right where it was. Now I'm going to put it back into drive. And we got a red light. I want to mention something about the 6L80. It really is an important part of this swap, and most guys don't realize that. It has 3 different modes when you go into the manual gate. When you go into the manual gate, you have gear lock, which basically locks it in that gear, sport automatic, and then of course tap shift or manual mode. The 6L80 is adaptive, which means it learns how you drive. It's CAN bus driven, so you don't have the 30 or 40 wires that go into a traditional 4-speed. And it keeps the RPMs low all the time. watch on light throttle here how even going up this grade where the 3.8 would struggle, and I drove this Jeep up this grade with a supercharger and the transmission was hunting up and down. Notice that this 6L80, it just idles along. Now if you need the power, it's instant. It'll drop 3 or 4 gears. Right back down. That's what gives you economy. While we're talking about the 6L80, it is a low friction transmission, so it doesn't build up the heat like the Chrysler transmissions or the older 4L60s. Being CAN bus driven, it has about 6 or 7 wires going into the transmission versus the older 4L65s with 20 to 30. It does have its own internal TCM. It is on the CAN bus network, and it has a 0.66 overdrive and a 4-to-1 low. It actually has 2 overdrives, so you can launch a heavy Jeep like this with 410s and 37s off the line easily and still run under 2,000 RPM at 70 miles an hour on the highway, and the 6L80 is what makes that happen. So a big part of the LS swap is not just the engine, and that does have a lot of significant advantages over the competitors, but it's the transmission. The transmission makes it work in a heavy JK due to the diverse gearing, low friction, low heat, adaptive learning, CAN bus driven for less complexity. You could take the same transmission, put it in your grandmother's Cadillac, and then you could put it in a quarter-mile dragster, and without really doing any hardware changes, the same transmission would work. And driving a JK every day with a 6L80 and an LS3 is just awesome. I mean, getting up to speed used to be a nightmare. This is just touching the throttle, and before you know it, you're speeding. I'm letting the throttle off, and watch those R's come down. Let's set our cruise. We're in cruise right now. I could drive Vegas to Houston in an LS3 non-stop. Very difficult to do with this 3.8, especially with the supercharger, because all the drama involved. I know the superchargers do add power, but when you combine it with a 4-speed transmission or even the new 5-speed transmissions, there's just no comparison. You can't compare a V8, and that includes the Hemi. With all of its torque, sound, power, docile running, this Jeep will run at Moab all day long, idling at 550 RPM, cool, and have over 400 pounds of torque. So you can literally just leave it in 4 high and idle over almost any obstacle. Where with your V6, you're fighting it. I've had trail bosses out here tell me that driving a 6-speed V8 JK is like cheating. When they put guys in manual transmission or V6 JKs, they have to work a lot harder. The inherent torque of the V8 works so well with the weight of the JK, because most of these JKs weigh 6,000 pounds or more. So it allows the inertia of the engine to keep the vehicle moving, keep that momentum moving, especially in loose terrain like mud, sand, snow. You're going to see that the V8 is actually easier to drive and, in my opinion, safer. It has a smoother power delivery. The closer gear spacing of the 6L80, along with the RPM match shifting, means you don't get a lurch when it goes between gears. If it does downshift, it's barely noticeable, and the wheel speed stays very consistent, so you don't lose traction. It's just a whole different style of driving, and in my opinion, it's the best option out right now for the JK. And I drive my JK all around the country, and any other combination, whether that be a Hemi, a supercharger, a Pentastar, literally annoys me to drive at this point. If it's not an LS and a JK with a 6-speed, I just feel like I've gone backwards. So I apologize again on the Grande Juan build. getting ahead of me in the videos. But we've got we've got a lot of Jeeps here that we're going to continue the video series on, and hopefully go into the wiring in depth. And that kind of was my goal, because the wiring is really where most of the questions come from, and we're going to try to cover that in detail in another build. I think we have one already torn apart from Colorado that we'll be doing that with. So we'll be seeing you then.